welcome to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast, Achieving Peace Through Compassion. This podcast is a recording of the Dharma Talks given during our Sunday service.
Well, thank you so much. I have so much gratitude for this Sangha. Thank you. Whether you're brand new here or whether you've helped found this center 30 years ago, all of you are so precious to me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share today. So the topic is around ways to measure our growth. We've been studying Lojong practices, and so now we're reaching this point where we can ask, what if you today could assess if the work that you've been putting in to this training and training your mind is kind of working? And not only that, what if you could come away with an idea or a few ideas to redirect in your daily life if it seems like it's not quite working? So I think that's a benefit that if you stay with it, I think you'll walk away with today. But let's start with acknowledging where we are, especially if you're newer today or recently started coming to the center. Our Sangha is studying an ancient technique. It's called Lojong, or mind training, and it's using a fairly new commentary by Khentrul Lodro Tayé. It's a beautiful, beautiful text that goes into the 7 key points of mind training. And so in this book, The Power of Mind, a Tibetan monk's guide to finding freedom in every challenge, we're offered a way to check in at this stage of practice, and maybe a moment of history. Our Sangha's been very blessed, very lucky to have a connection with this teacher. About 4 years ago, when the book was being launched, we were the first stop that he came on his book tour, and his picture is actually up on the wall. It's the second one right next to, yes, thank you. And so some of the insights I'm going to share today came a little bit from that retreat and other opportunities to receive teachings from that teacher. And of course, any mistakes or misunderstandings are attributed to me and not the teacher. And one of the things that stood out then, that was mid-2022, is he was saying this is such a time to use these methods. Then we were really reeling from global pandemic suffering and lots of difficulties, lots of troubled times. And here we are, 2026. And I would say lots of troubles, lots of difficulties, lots of reasons to go to these methods to help us. So our Sangha has since January been studying this. So what do we do to recognize the signs of progress? Are we really taming our minds? Is this really working? I'll share a quote before we go into the 4 slogans that help us determine that. And the quote from the book is, "Mind training practice transforms the way we think and act. To be proficient means the training becomes our direct experience. But how do we gauge our progress? By our own experience. If we practice love, compassion, and wisdom consistently, over time, our reactions to people and reactions to situations will change. As love and compassion increase, selfishness and other disturbing emotions decrease." So that first slogan, the first gauge of progress is your self-clinging lessening a little bit? The specific slogan is, "All dharmas have a single unified purpose." And what is that purpose? It is to tame our minds. It is to lessen the attachment to the self, that ego clinging that we all have. So in the last few months, if you've been working through this book, working through these methods, have you noticed anything like that? Has your self-clinging, your selfishness, your really intense focus on I, me, mine, has that decreased at all? And if so, that's progress. Wonderful. Has your patience increased? Your love, compassionate reactions to others? And if so, maybe give yourself a pat on the back. And if not, that's okay. Notice maybe nothing's changing. Let's remedy that situation. Let's apply these teachings and let's practice. And maybe it's even going back to the beginning of some of the basic practices that we started with. Thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma, precious human birth, impermanence, karma, cause and effect, the nature of suffering. Or maybe it's just another chapter or method that really resonated with you. The translator to the teacher, Loma, she writes in the early stages of the book that if she's got a challenge, she might just throw the book at it and go through method by method until something sorts out. So that's the first slogan, is basically all dharmas have a single unified purpose. Are you noticing that mind being tamed? So the second is, of the two witnesses, rely on the primary one. So who are the two witnesses? Well, one is other people. Are others in your life observing your behavior changing? Does your partner, parent, best friend see you as a bit more patient and a little bit different, more loving, more kind? And the other witness is you. And that is the one that we really rely on. That is the primary one, you yourself and your assessment. Because really, outer appearances may be quite misleading to others. They may not really know what's happening in our minds and what is behind that. What is our intentions? We could certainly be behaving in a way that is motivated by manipulation or a desire for a certain reputation, to be thought of in a certain way. So it's yourself, it's your own experience that you're relying on and checking this gauging of progress. One of the quotes from the book that stood out was, "We are the sole witnesses to our own thoughts and emotions. Only we know the extent to which our self-clinging has decreased and loving kindness and compassion have increased. Only we know the depth to which our mind has been tamed." So again, opportunity to check in, perhaps even thinking about yesterday. Are your actions motivated by cherishing others, by compassion for others, helping others? There is a test Rinpoche mentions in the text about, can you do something good, a good deed for another, regardless of the outcome? And his advice was, do not measure your success by the immediate outcome of the actions. Instead, look at the state of your mind and the conduct in the process, unquote. So is it motivated by pure love, pure compassion, pure selfishness? Not selfishness, selflessness. And that's something I can check in quite frequently. I have I have twin toddlers at home, just under 2 years old. And, sometimes you you do something that you think will turn out well, and it does the opposite. You put all your effort into this nice meal and it's, thrown on the wall or not even touched. Or, you buy a new toy thinking that's going to give them some happiness. And then boom, it hits you in the head and let's put that away for a while. So that's the test. Can you do something good for another, regardless of the outcome? So of the two witnesses, rely primarily on the one. That's the second slogan. And the third, and perhaps my favorite, is always keep a joyful mind. And this is really an aspiration to have. In the book, he says, as Galse Nolchu Togme, a bodhisattva from Tibet who lived in the 13th century, wrote in the prayer, finding joy no matter what occurs. Once we have gained proficiency in mind training, we are okay in all circumstances. If we are sick, we are okay. If we suffer, we are okay. If we get what we want, we are okay. If we don't get what we want, we are okay. So are you there yet? I am not. But sometimes in small moments, I am. Referring to the retreat that Rinpoche, for this teacher, gave us at the Rime Center in August of 2022, when he was teaching on sort of this point on taking adversity onto the path, challenges onto the path. It was really this point of patient forbearance, being okay in all kinds of circumstances, that to me had the deepest impact. And Rinpoche shared how much of a habit we often have to dislike things and to dislike situations. We might not like a person because of what they said to us and how much this causes us to suffer. We really want things to be a certain way, and we really don't like it when they're not that way. Could be as simple as, I think the example he gave was a friend not calling you back or not responding to a text. And you might go into this whirlwind of worry for their not calling you back. Are they okay? Do they not like me? and so on and so on. And our minds just go into this dwelling and suffering. The thing that really stayed with me is how disempowering this way of thinking is. This habit of dislike is so disempowering to us. So instead, how do we empower ourselves? How do we encourage ourselves? And well, they encourage us to develop and cultivate an empowering mindset of can be okay with this. I can tolerate this without being disturbed. And this strengthens our minds, this way of thinking. And the shift of I don't like it to I'm okay or I can be okay with this really resonated with me. And when I'm able, I use this as a mantra or a reminder that I can be okay with this. Again, as I set up a nice little tea for my sons and it is dumped on the table, I can be okay with this. And it's really in those moments that we're encouraged to start, in these small moments, familiarize with the practice in these day-to-day mini challenges that we all get in our lives. So Rinpoche, again, in the book writes, having reached this level of proficiency where we find joy no matter what occurs, joy is our ever-present companion on the path. It is not dependent on outer circumstances. It provides peace and happiness that outer circumstances cannot. When everything is brought onto the path, everything becomes meaningful and a source of benefit. And this is a measure of practice, unquote. And I think it's maybe a asterisk to say, and Rinpoche pointed this out too, that it's not that we do nothing about a situation when people are suffering. If you can take action, but don't do it out of anger. Notice your intention in taking the action and don't just dwell on that suffering or that habit of dislike. So always keep a joyful mind. And the final slogan is, there is proficiency if we can train while distracted. There is proficiency if we can train while distracted. So is it coming natural to you to react to life's challenges with love, compassion, and wisdom? Maybe a little bit more than when you started out, doing this homework and applying these mind training methods. So that's the fourth mark of progress, that there is proficiency if we can train while distracted. And when I gave a version of this Dharma talk 3 years ago, when we were going through this book for that Bodhisattva challenge, I certainly had much less distractions in my life. The story I had shared then was on how to keep a joyful mind, was about difficulties that I had while traveling to a retreat. But today, it seems that last point, that can I train while distracted, is the one that really is resonating. I had even thought to bring my almost 2-year-old twin boys distractors here today. But then I think the distraction would be for everyone here as they increasingly scream mommy at louder and quicker intervals during this whole Dharma talk. So you're welcome. But it's here where I appreciate in myself, and I hope I encourage you to appreciate that progress over perfection for whatever you gauge yourself at in these slogans. Definitely, I don't respond to every situation with a natural love, compassion, wisdom reaction, but what a gift to have these challenges every day to try to approach them a little bit better next time. So that's your scorecard. The 4 slogans is your selfishness lessening. Can you, as the witness, observe your motivations? Can you keep a joyful mind no matter the outer circumstances? And can you do this while distracted so it starts to become natural? And so I'd like to close just with 2 things. The aspiration the author offers in this chapter is, may all beings be happy, may all beings be free, may all beings be proficient in training their minds. But I would really like to close. This is the first opportunity to give a Dharma talk that I've had since Dr. Nora moved through the Bardo and beyond. And so I'd like to sort of invoke her memory for a moment and offer the blessing that she would often close with and offer our Sangha. And that was from a teacher of hers. So may you be blessed. May you be blessed. May you be triple blessed, so that you may become an even greater blessing to others. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast. Music was provided by Barefoot Bran Music. Please consider supporting the Rime Buddhist Center by making a donation at our website at www.rimecenter.org/donate.